If you will, please stand so we can say our Pledge of Allegiance. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you.
And Happy New Year to you, too.
Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate it. Thank you. I understand that since we modified the agenda, or not, we didn't modify, we just changed the order of it. Do we need a motion? Did we say? No, we didn't. Okay, it was just slightly changed, and I'll explain to you the reason for that. It was just simply to kind of put it in order, what I thought made a little bit of a flow to it. But that said, let's do our call to order and roll call. Alderman Barber.
Here.
Steve Bobowski, you're here. Tim.
Here.
Barb.
Here.
And Jim has resigned. So
This is it.
is it.
This is it.
Yeah, we're here. And to that point, those who are on the list are 100% showing.
So who was the other fellow? There was one with that we had.
Aaron Kapelich
Yeah,
resigned.
he resigned.
Yep. And
Bob Gates.
All right, so we've got our.
Except a point of order.
Yeah.
Should we list the Pledge of Allegiance? Most agendas would have that after the roll call.
Oh, here, let's do that.
And most of the agendas I see have.
You know, you're a change maker. You really did. You know, you're a change maker. You really did.
Well, I don't like change, so I'll thwart it any way I can.
All right, we got the citizen comment period. Any comments? All right, I say we move forward then. How about, all right, I say we move forward then. How about the minutes from the November 2nd, 2022 meeting?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Okay. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Okay. Approved. All right, so here's what, and we were just talking, John and I, just a little bit. The idea here was talk about the economic development plan, and then we had A, B, and C. First was kind of to go back and say, okay, so the economic development plan, and then we had A, B, and C. First was kind of to go back and say, okay, so what were we planning to do in 2022, and what did we get done? And then the concept which says, okay, and I sent to John, who I think sent to all of you guys, a prototype plan from Green Bay. And the whole point is, without a plan, any road will get you there. And so, to me, I think we've been kind of playing without that for a little while, so let's put it in order. We do have some to-do things that are attached here that Callie put, but I don't consider that a plan with, what we're trying to do and when. And to me, as I take a look at it from an economic, why are we doing what we're doing, would be helpful. And especially if we're trying to attract new, what categories, what industries, what, those kinds of things would seem to make sense to me. In addition to that, what areas are we? So to me, as we're looking at these TIFs, I keep going, well, okay, so who are we competing with? Okay, so are we competing with, Pleasant Prairie or Oak Creek, or Muskego? Then to me, it would seem that we should have, but we haven't even defined who our competition is and what we're doing. So to me, that would be a logical place to start and put it together. And so that should go first. Anyhow, that said, we do have attached, and I'm going to let John take us through the 2022 plan, and if you will, our successes for the year.
Okay. So, just looking at what Callie had before, I go through it pretty quick because I think all we need to do is go through the 1 year plan rather than the 2020 and beyond. I think it's pretty much all in there. And the first thing that she has listed is continue management and administration, establish TID application procedures and developer agreement template load up on the site. So I think we've started working on that. We obviously continue to work on administering projects and managing them. So then in the areas of management and administration, and it's a team effort. The administrative department does a bulk of the financial work as along with the city finance department. So kudos to them for all the work that they've done. But the Saputo project, which is coming up, we had the Lawn Garden project, the SA project, all in that bid, and so we made significant progress there. We down successfully administrative function that they've been successful at, and some progress over in the TID where Loomis Road Business Park is. I believe it's 6 and 7, but pardon me, 6. Anyways, so we've got another company as soon as we got that finalized, and a company called Cellco, and they were discussed at the meeting last week or 2 weeks ago, council. So, anyways, we 27th Street corridor. To my knowledge, we haven't looked at any bid development, and we have talked about redeveloping some of the areas at the staff level, at the city level, and had some discussions with Alderwoman Hanneman and the mayor, some potential areas for redevelopment, and haven't done anything official with that, or even really documentation, just some brainstorming. Engaging with area developers, development influencers, working with development companies and getting out and meeting them. With development companies and getting out and meeting them. Being the new person, we're kind of at ground zero again, but we made a lot of inroads in that arena. And so we'll continue to recover some of those contacts and make progress. And then our database of commercial and available industrial sites, that's always kind of a work in progress, but we know the sites that are available in our business parks. And we keep in touch with the Franklin Business Parks, and we keep in touch with the Franklin Business Park Consortium, and they let us know what's going on, and realtors and developers tell us what they're working on. So I think we continue to maintain that effort. And we maintain that effort. And we attend events all the time in the general region, and scheduled to attend some outside there. And then we have a customer relationship management, a CRM tool in place, and then evaluating that in addition to the other tools that we have in our possession. And so the other tools that we have in our possession. And so
what is that one?
That's ACT.
Oh, we use ACT.
That Callie subscribed to. Mm-hmm. And essentially it kind of incorporates the databases that we have at our disposal. It's that the databases that we have at our disposal, the city's Outlook program, but I think it's intended to incorporate some of the Excel sheets. So we're taking a look at seeing how we incorporate that. We're taking a look at seeing how we incorporate that. That had been subscribed to just before. So evaluate how
Are you guys familiar with that?
I know what that is. I've never used it, but I know what CRM is.
Yeah, gotcha.
Active CRM.
I see.
It's been my impression.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, have you used ACT? Okay. Well, I mean, I've used both ACT and also used Salesforce. It's database driven, but it can function. It's really, contacts. That's what I've always, I don't know what the price was, but hey, it works, and if it works for you, great, glad you got something.
Is that available to, how would one access that?
I don't know, we'd have to get access to it, but, and so
You
you,
have to just resubscribe, reboot it.
oh,
How do I say it? It's dormant. Again, working through the databases that we have and what our needs are, sort through what I'm trying to evaluate in terms
Okay.
of what I would
almost when it goes down to what you,
site content's always being updated. I did a couple of 3-year projects already this year where we did videos and we updated the business view content that we have. That's also on the website, but it's also part of their outreach that they do website. And so we've had some significant progress there because that happens every year. We're going to look at a different approach in the future and maybe contract to have some of that done. But program also with the tours, the video tours that we have, is the company works with us and we situation of business view, we provide them with our vendor base, our vendor contacts, and then the selected company may not be the way to go. Then they approach businesses in town to sell them. So that may not be as functional as you'd like. So, but anyways, but those projects are done. So updated those. So we'll continue to update them. That's a continued marketing strategy. Working with you folks, and now Site Selection is not an organization that we're taking out ads with right now. Returns on printed ad space is pretty limited, so I think we need to take a look more at trying to do that kind of work at business journals, and again, talked about some of the virtual attraction on the website, but virtual attraction being social media, and right now the city social media, and right now the city doesn't engage in the social media component of communications media, electronic communications media, and it's so much, just a little old me, and there's just a little old me. And there's a big focus in the future on me working financing management part of the kid. And so I think we're going to rely more and more on M7 marketing. Our role is in the next item that's listed here. Our role is in the next item that's listed here. Getting out and meeting with developers and the real estate brokers at key events. And it's kind of a way to get into a kind of a funnel point of all prospects that are looking in the area. Funnel point of all prospects that are looking in the area. And then just looking at some specific targets that community as well. We have a few of those. Retention and expansion. That's on the goal of expansion. That's on the goal. A couple of meetings have been done. Some more are being scheduled. And so we'll get out there every week and meet with some of our local companies.
you say that, who's going out, you?
Yeah, I'm going out and making.
Okay. So is that you?
Yeah, I'm going out and making.
Okay. So is that 5 per month?
Yes. I don't think we'll hit 5 per month. I don't think we'll pick one up every single month. But at least 3 of them.
And then they've been receptive? They've been receptive?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just scheduling is the biggest challenge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've got busy schedules and companies to run, and so getting in to see them sometimes it's. Yep. So, but we'll continue with that and try to get to as close to 1 week as possibly can. And at some point in time, I won't say you run out of companies to visit, but you run out of visits to be scheduled. Some of them every other year. Typically, anymore, it's not a problem because things change so much. There's something new going on, talk about, and there are other companies that you may want to visit. So we may have, which we that are important, and to keep up with highly active. We of course work with the planning department on updates to the UDO in town. And that's an ongoing thing in the UDO. I'm guessing somewhere is around, I'm thinking that'll be done by the middle of the year. I don't know, Mike, you sense it?
Just, I know that it's in the works, they've been holding the meetings on it and everything, there's been a presentation to council on it, but not anything that says this, not anything that says this is the new.
Yeah, they're actually in drafting part of it. They have a draft to present to community, and being from that is a lot of and I've been through a couple of the sections where they've gone plan, section by section, and they're consolidating it and working to make it as practicable document system as possible.
There's been a few, probably, I can't identify them all now, but there's been citizen comments that have come up every time we've had this in council. Citizen comments that have come up every time we've had this in council. And they have not, some people are in favor of doing it and others dragging the feet, saying they want to make sure that agricultural land stays agricultural. And so are we lumping all this together to diminish our delineations along the way? So there's some hesitancy from some of the citizens out there right now about that. Sure, as it comes more to fruition, you'll hear more, or there'll be more discussion of it at council. To be a change that might meet with opposition or people that don't want to change.
Well, and again, that's kind of like, I think we need an overarching plan that people agree to and execute against it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reality is, yes, there's opposition to it. So, again, we don't have an improved plan that everybody's agreeing to.
I know.
And I guess the point is then, we're just shooting in the dark, in which I come back to saying, so we've got a number of developments, and it seems like it's going through the Economic Development Commission, which seem to be our, purview, that kind of stuff. So, I mean,
I agree.
If you asked and said, what's happening, I mean, we've got, Zimmerman, whole new section, subdivision, et cetera. I don't know, you guys up on the plans? What's in?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's
Gotcha.
my neighborhood.
Yeah, okay. And I'm not, and maybe you are, but again, I would say that should be things that we discuss, and is it consistent with the plan for our economic development? If it is, great. If not, then it's no big deal. And that's why I'd say we don't. Now but it's not because of right. And I'm simply saying, are we going to serve a purpose in 2023 or not? That's kind of the overarching. Okay.
I know meetings are hard, but maybe just to do something when something like this comes up before council or where there's a hearing being held at planning, let us know. I mean, I see it because I get the agendas, but as a committee, you could attend those meetings as well and be part of that whole discussion and maybe just rather than duplicate that meeting and then come to another meeting where it's duplicated again,
Yeah.
just focus our group to be in on that with, okay, what's coming before council now that might affect economic development? And notify according to that, being an availability for anybody that's interested in economic development to come in.
Mhm. Again, I'd probably come with slightly different, says, if it doesn't pass us, it shouldn't even get to them. Because if it's not part of economic development, why is it even being pursued?
Because historically, that's not happened that way.
Okay, hadn't been done, but that also says that, okay, the function as a back end after the fact, but that also says that, okay, the function as a back end after the fact, it's not worth our time. I'd say either we, get in front of and part of.
I have no problem with that.
Okay, gotcha.
Execute the developer's agreement, facilitate the HS project was obviously done. Success there. And it's easy just to say that and check it off, but that's going to be a good-sized building and serve a significant purpose that looks like it service warehouse facilities. And that's badly needed. So sometimes it's tough to build a non-dedicated warehousing unit. But it can be very warehousing unit. But it can be very beneficial, and especially if located in HSA and Vanguard or off of the 27 corridors. So they're that type of flex building that can do warehousing as well as manufacturing is beneficial. So identify sources of grant is beneficial. So identify sources of grant funding, such as EDA, assist with large-scale projects. That's something that hasn't necessarily come into play. I think we typically work with regional planning committee to look at like EDA. They're the purveyor. Regional planning committee to look at like EDA. They're the purveyors of those funds, and looking at that, we look to them to do the grants for that. So we work with projects and need funding. We'll look to them. Know that we're looking at some assistance have in the corporate business park. So we'll continue to look for that. I will say the capacity, obviously, just needs little old me being the person that part of it. We would depend on how I've worked in the past. So we're members of the International Economic Development Council again, and I'm not a member of the National Development Council. I know I'm not necessarily sure that we'll seek that kind of a status, but we certainly are members again with International Economic Development.
So what good does that do us?
Being a member?
Yeah.
Well, as a member, I'm planning to get certified with them. That gives you some credentials and gives you some certifiability. Who's this guy that you got working for you? And I don't see any letters behind these. But there is training and taken 3 parts of Oklahoma University Economic Development Institute. One more than the IED.
I guess all I'm saying is to help us make better deals with developers. If it is, I think it's great. I just hate to see for the sake of having a credential that says so what.
Where would Saputo and Coconiche fall into that as far as international? Would that be of anything?
It's just that the IEDC they're international in scope. years ago, maybe 23 years ago. They had two organizations, the American Economic Development Association, and then there was another one, and they merged. I think it was Core Group. And so they merged and formed this group. And there is some involvement internationally. The Department, State's Department of Economic Development does do international marketing. I know that they participate in the international economic development trade show called Select USA. I've participated in that, and I think that it's something that will work. I think Coconiche came through that, and so through Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation's participation, through Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation's participation. So
There's a link, point to something as a link.
Yeah, but it's not a link to the IEDC. That's just their name.
Yeah.
Call it the Economic Development Council if you want. Call it the Economic Development Council if you want. And I think
Fine, I'm good. I just thought,
right.
don't make work you don't need. If you want to do it, great.
Yeah.
I'm all for credentials.
I'm not. I think credentials for the sake of. I'm not. I think credentials for the sake of credentials uses up a lot of people's time. And if it's, I hate to think that you're going to put in, 40, 60, 80, 100 hours, something, all it's going to do is stretch you thinner. That it's just little old me, and it's like, geez, how much can you do? That it's just little old me, and it's like, geez, how much can you do? That's it.
So, anyways, we had 9. Couldn't give you a lot of details on that. We haven't delved in much on that. We haven't delved in much in 9. So that's something that we'll have to keep on calendar or agenda somewhere to see how that turns out. But at this point, I think the majority of our efforts, getting to be TID 8 in the Loomis Business Park 6.
And TID 9 geographics would be over on 76th.
That's, yeah. Well, TID 9? Yeah. Well, TID 9?
Yeah. Looks at
Yes.
geography.
Right. Anyways, to be determined.
I know there's presentations coming up on it in the near future, or if anybody's interested. I know coming before the Planning Commission real soon, and then before Council, where they're going to look at that. When you get the long-range agendas for stuff showing up, so be aware that will long-range agendas for stuff showing up. So be aware that will be something if you're interested in. Something coming with that presentation.
You said this is in the area of 76th and Loomis
Right, and 76th and Rawson.
and Rawson.
Yeah.
I believe.
I think it's kind of like a big overlap area. 76th and Rawson.
And Rawson.
Yeah.
I believe.
I think it's kind of like a big overlap area. Expansion. Orchard View Shopping Center, and then basically west of or east of Senior Center. Loomis.
We see a lot of projects proposed.
Loomis.
We see a lot of projects proposed. And I guess the ultimate decision leading to trying to investigate that is you wouldn't be able to expand other districts that are in that general area. So you need additional.
Something just to be aware of what's coming for the Planning Commission as a and have it identified that would be of interest to economic development would be something that we can start looking at.
We continue to work with Sewer Pack, make sure our projects are in the comprehensive economic development strategy, and that's required for EDA funding. It's for that, so we continue to collaborate with. Yeah, the acronyms typically what you'll hear SEDS. It's the Economic Development Administration requires that each region or planning districts represent, develop, essentially, we'd have, we're talking about our strategy for our activities. They would have a strategy for a project. And why they,
So that's already been produced.
those get done every year. Well, they get reviewed. Projects get added, projects not.
So theoretically, we are part of this, yes? Franklin has a plan already presented.
Well, we would have projects, not even, we would have projects, not even plan. Part of this total plan of project, we might have a couple of projects listed.
Okay.
It's kind of like a heads up for SERPAC. What we're involved with and what's anticipated so that they can do their anticipated so that they can do their planning, knowing what we have in the offer kind of thing, I think. Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. A lot of it has to do with EDA funding. Projects are coming up. And so they're talking to EDA about what they expect to be applying. So they're talking to EDA about what they expect to be applying for dollars. So haven't really had much discussion with anybody on setting up a display unit about Franklin businesses and specific types of attraction. I'll have to take and investigate more of that. Again, if you're setting up a kiosk, it should be something that's informational.
Fine. I mean, I don't want to crappy looking up there. It takes us down. So it's either good or don't do it. And do we have an example of somebody who has done it well?
Yes, we do. Oak Creek has
Yeah, I was
done a
gonna say,
very good
yes.
job of that.
Okay.
They have a kiosk in the center of their city hall area in their lobby. And citizens, you have a question about what do I do if I want to put up a fence? What do I do if I need to do this? So it really is very informational, and all of the flyers or brochures are very, they all look alike, their logo and everything. It's very well done.
Okay.
But it's focused, that was there, focused on the citizens of Oak Creek. If they have questions about what do I do about this, how do I get a permit for that, and that sort of thing.
So it's a paper
Yes.
driven
Yes.
as opposed to something online.
I'm not sure if it's also online. It may very well be. But
No, I
want
get
the
that,
paper.
and I'd be one of those. Okay,
Mhm.
so
Yeah, I know.
it speaks to me, but I would also say, well,
I wouldn't
is
doubt
that
it's-
the right way? I mean,
Yeah.
but that's another question, I guess. How did this get on there? Who chose that this should be a utilization of your time? Would be mine. It's like, I mean, I agree. You've only got so many hours in the prioritization list. We've lived without it. It should probably be online. But if that's where you want to spend time, okay, be one of those.
In a more perfect world, that would be the duty of our communications director,
Sure.
if we had one.
Yeah.
And we don't.
Yeah.
Which
What
is, I think, unfortunate.
What I see, and I don't know what's up there right now, but as you walk down the hall past the business office, there's always maps up there, but nobody's explaining what that is. It's just a picture. If you look at it, okay. But to have something focusing on maybe like the city and where there's economic development going on and what are potentially happening in an area, maybe, I mean, down the road, how elaborate do you want to go? But all those maps along the wall over there do nothing. I mean, people look at it and go, okay. So this would be a little bit more focused on economic development and explaining a little bit more of what it's doing so that the community, is aware of it. I don't want a three-dimensional kind of thing built up, next to the fish tank or anything, but,
Again, I'm just looking at the tasks and the
Yeah.
list of tasks, and I'd say, where does this fall on the?
Sure, I know,
On
but-
the John, the
Yeah.
list of tasks, and I'd say, where does this fall on the?
Sure, I know,
On
but-
the John list, I'd say, well, we've lived this far without it, let's put it online, and then if we have time, but I'm just looking at the list of
we
stuff.
don't have that time now, but maybe to look at what the options might be.
Which, if we feel it's, then we're gonna have to say, okay, how do we expand our,
Look at what the options might be.
which, if we feel it's, then we're gonna have to say, okay, how do we expand our resources?
Yeah.
I mean, the guy can only do so much, but, okay, got it.
I agree.
Tourism Bureau,
Yeah, I've been working actually.
Tourism Bureau.
Yeah, I've been working actually quite a bit lately with the Tourism Commission, and they're working with Engage Franklin, and there's executive director, board leading Engage Franklin,
And who is that?
Laura Nelson. And so that person is on, and we'll talk to her about some kind of, well, they are going to be working on developing a have with the city. And so, actually, specifically with Michigan. And so, obviously, when they get their center put together and get one developed, they're going to have a kickoff.
And so this is actually an outside group, not,
Nothing but the city.
What?
Nothing but the city.
oh, so this is not city, this isn't a Franklin.
The dollars come from the hotel tax, and majority of the funds collected are directed to the commission, promotion and development. And so they are contracting with Engage Franklin, and they're working with them on executing the naming rights Franklin Field Agreement, as well as go out and do tourism promotions and development activity. That marketing, also strategic planning and website development, part of the promotion, trade show participation, and tours with potential clients, tourism event promoters, and other activity. They also are engaging with Carl Collective, who do some research on our markets and some messaging, which I'm sure Engage Franklin will use some.
These funds used to go to the general fund until the state changed the law. Now the state changed the law. Nothing. This is all codified. But my only concern was, come up some discussions along the way. How do we maintain a distinction between the Rock and city tourism? It seems to merge into where tourism is a subsidiary of the Rock and its effort.
Well, thank you, because that was going to be my question. My understanding is this is owned by Zimmerman, right? Engage Franklin?
No. I'm an ad hoc member of the Tourism Commission, and Engage Franklin is not owned. The Tourism Commission is in a partnership with The Rock for the naming rights, Franklin Field. And for that, there are a number of benefits that come back to the city and also to the commission. But it is not, however, we have to admit that The Rock is a pretty major attraction for tourists in the city.
Yeah.
And that we recognize. So then the Tourism Commission is working to encourage that and perhaps even more so.
Engage with a local
Mhm.
entity.
Yes.
And it has to, that's by statute. So it can be called a tourism entity. And so they can receive funds. But it is a standalone
Is
public-private nonprofit, if you call it that.
Is the director paid by the Rock or from the tourism?
The director is paid by the ROC. But the funds for activities, the funds coming from activities are going to, some are going to come from the commission, some are going to come from other participants in that nonprofit entity that's engaged, Franklin. Now, Now, those funds uses of those funds have to be approved for by the tourism commission. So they have, and there's going to be representatives of the business community and the tourism, on that nonprofit board to answer those very.
Is the visitor center going to be in the Rock complex?
I do
Anticipating?
not know where.
Not sure. In fact, that is one part, that's kind of low on the list of priorities for the Tourism Commission. That's kind of low on the list of priorities for the Tourism Commission right now. I mean, it's been talked about, but we're not quite at that point. We need to get Engage Franklin up and running.
Well, going back to the fact that the director's paid by the Rock, that's, I think, probably what I heard. That was like, well, I got it. And I'm just enough that I don't know. I was just curious as to that, so I understand. And they were throwing stones. To your point, though, I mean, I think the Rock's it's a good thing. I really do. I think it, and so it took, a dump and made it into something. Fractions now, some could say we don't need them. Rock's not all bad. So again, I'm not against it. I just sharing with that kind of the overarching theme and division of church and state kind of feel. It's like, yeah, okay.
It's just kind of like fodder for people who say we keep giving the Rock money.
We are not giving.
I know, but it's fodder for that. The perceptions are.
Yeah, and I wish it wasn't because I think they're doing some good things.
So do I.
But anyhow, okay.
Completing installation, where we are allowed to do it, we just ordered one in to put it at the entrance, for the north entrance, east entrance for Northwestern Mutual off of 27th, and banners right where their driveway comes off there. There was one of those sign mounts on Franklin's side that didn't have any in it, so we got that done this year, and the banners. The banners have been have been installed, but that is an ongoing thing, and we have some dollars that we've budgeted every year, and the need is about 3 times that. So we're going to keep working on that. The need is about 3 times that. So we're going to keep working on that. We'll have to shift the budget, put more and more dollars in there, and we probably will be able to as we get these agreements all completed, and we can shift some of the dollars from that development.
And Jen, do you have I don't remember how much money the Economic Development, I don't remember how much money the Economic Development Commission did use part of their budget to help pay for those gateway signs and the banner.
I couldn't tell you that.
I don't recall. I mean, I probably
history
have
that
that
I
in my
have-
notes.
that I
No.
haven't,
But
dealt
the
with.
EDC did contribute and was a partner. But
Dealt
the
with.
EDC did contribute and was a partner in doing that. And so after Tourism Commission meeting the other day, I was thinking, maybe the EDC should also be a partner in maintaining all of those banners, because that's where some real expenses come in. So what kind of budget we actually have? I don't know.
Well, okay, and I appreciate being on the tourism bureau. I don't think we have much. I wouldn't say, seeing as how we don't have an income.
But there is a budget for the EDC.
Yeah, where?
Well, you paid
For us, not
for us.
tourism.
It's granted on a, as a, from the mayor when he wants to. There, I don't see a budget
Really?
anywhere, no.
Well, but we paid for the business appreciation event.
Oh, because he pulled it out of, some pot, put it here or there.
No.
No,
We have a
That's-
budget
that's
that we
earmarked.
looked at.
Okay, so, then we should review that.
that's identified as.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought,
And
Yeah, we'll bring it, we'll take a look at that.
my understanding is it got shifted from somewhere else. Money was here, and as a result, the mayor wanted to pay for the whole thing. Well, we got a little money here, a little bit there, but I did not believe we have it. So, new project.
seems, I recall that there was, but I don't have it at my,
Okay, gotcha. Tim, in your time, have you ever seen a budget passed around at an EDC meeting?
Kelly, back in the day, when Kelly was on chief, presented it to us and what we had to go on. And so
At an EDC meeting or
yeah,
a city
for
council?
EDC.
Mhm.
How much we wanted to spend on the advertising, how much we wanted to go outside and for outside sourcing, the way we were doing in those years. And so that was all identified as a budgetary process that we were going to sit and ask for.
Right.
That does exist.
I think you just went online. Send that to everybody.
The tourism budget.
Sean and I took a look at this with what happens on an annual basis as far as income. And all we could identify was $180,000
Of income.
of revenue to the tourism community. So that's what we're some different numbers are out there, but I think some of that has to do with carryover budgets.
And does that have to be reported to the state then in terms of spending and how it's being
All that
used?
stuff has to be,
Spending and how it's being
all that
used,
stuff has to be.
done separate.
Yeah, that's done by the city treasurer,
Okay.
or either
Finance.
Sandy or
finance director.
Peg
the finance.
I think, had done it last time.
That would be,
Yeah,
so, yeah, that would be,
yeah,
so, yeah, they have to report the revenues, and they have to report expenditures, and the commission has to report their expenditures to the council.
And about 30% of the room tax goes to the city. Percent of the room tax goes to the city. And the rest goes to the. And also, you may not be aware, but the city did raise its room tax to 8%. What was it previously? 6, 7, 6, 8%. What was it previously? 6, 7, 6? But it's been raised to 8%, which is consistent with what it is in our surrounding community. That means a little bit more money was coming
But
to
in
the
the old
commission
days, they used to be money that the city could use.
to fill potholes,
Yeah, to be money that the city could use,
to fill potholes.
Yeah.
They could do whatever they wanted to,
or buy new police cars, whatever
or
needed to be
whatever.
done.
There's a certain part of that funding that comes because it has, there's an impact on the city. It has, there's an impact on the city. So that it's like we get to keep a little bit of it for the general fund because it might require ambulance service or fire service or inspections and stuff. So there's a little bit that comes back to the city, that kind of funding. But that comes back to the city, that kind of funding. But I think it's like 80% or more, 90% goes right to tourism. On that order.
I thought it was, I'm not sure, but I thought it was 70, like 30% to the city and 70 to the commission.
In other taxing authorities, possibly. In other taxing authorities, possibly. School districts or whatever that may be.
Key accomplishments. rebranding process was done, last planning type of report that was issued from economic. Rock Ventures wrapping up their projects this year and next year. There's construction. There's their promotional activities, the TID works that has been done, and then the Cali service interim planning. So I will say going forward, a lot of those same items are up there. Building, marketing relationships with developers, with land developers, the project developers, and people that influence them. Continue to look at what our CRM or data demand, and I think that's where this comes from. Just from Franklin Business Parks, we like to see more databases. And I don't know if there's a way to consolidate.
Well, the end of the database, I references the what I sent out when I worked with the city through Franklin Business Park and the city, with who's in the city. We couldn't find it any other way, and so Hoover's says they are current as of 6 months, which is pretty good. You would almost think, though, that we should have that database coming in, but we didn't. And so we're going with them. And so John was able to go in and say, for a subscription of $2,500 a year, I think. Or something like that. 27,000. Or $22,700 would give us access to all those folks with names of the, give us names of the each of these key their phone numbers, emails, and contact information.
This is done in Bradstreet.
Yeah.
Library. I don't think we have anything.
Oh, you bet you did. How do you think I sent them there, buddy?
For $2,700.
Oh, maybe
I'm going to ask specifically.
Yeah, because that's why it was exciting, because all of a sudden we had contact with those folks. I used to use it with our Dale Carnegie. We had one, and we had access to all that kind of stuff, and you could slice and dice, and you could go by zip code and all the things necessary. So, I mean, that was what I was excited about for us, not just in the business part, but for the entire thing necessary. So, I mean, that was what I was excited about for us, not just in the business part, but for the entire city of Franklin, but more. So let's go back to the strategic plan, which says now we're going to talk about companies that are located in Wisconsin, then that could perhaps come to Franklin. We'd have access to located in Wisconsin, then that could perhaps come to Franklin. We'd have access to those kinds of people too, as well as the players. And let's suppose we want to say, okay, we're going to target northern Illinois, particularly just across the border. Why should they come here? Well, how do we get them? We could be doing those kinds of things in that order. Why should they come here? Well, how do we get them? We could be doing those kinds of things, and that was the thought. But again, it kind of comes back to, okay, who are we going to target? And then we have the access to do that. That was the value of having that. Their database is the best I've seen of that. Now, there's Zoom Info, which is another one. It's not as good. Okay, it just isn't.
We disagree. I've had exactly the opposite.
Okay.
But
okay. So that
it just could be different. This could be a different target.
For us, at least, it is. But Zoom, we can get it, but that's also limited to 1,000 names per month.
Yep.
Well, okay, that's. Chris Hoover's gave us more, but you're saying limit of 5,000. Okay, so that kind of stuff. But it's also who's more current database. Again, comes back to are we going to, which is I think our approach right now.
Well, again, M7 has been bringing the mayor's office.
And that comes back to, okay, based on what criteria are we saying they're right? Are they manufacturing? Are they communications? What, okay, gotcha. It just seems that as a community, we ought to decide who we want here, as opposed to wait till somebody calls us and says, oh, here we go. That, and again, I could be wrong, but we're not in this room voting that these are our strategies, et cetera. I'd like us to. That's all I'm saying. And anyhow, that's the thought.
You know, I think we're talking about databases here. I know the library has an extensive number of databases for business.
Mhm.
And I don't know exactly, I've never really researched that, but you may want to just talk to them or have somebody come in and tell us. But you may want to just talk to them or have somebody come in and tell us what it is that they have, the library.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to.
That's what we talked to.
Data Axle, and you
Okay.
want, we probably would have to go there and get a demonstration on Data Axle, but they're the ones that identify there. Get a demonstration on Data Axle, but they're the ones that identify that cost for Bradstreet, which is the parent company Hoover.
Okay.
But we asked them in what other things they have, and they got, I think, Contact America and a couple of these others which are not, but
Okay.
yes, and a couple of these others which are not, but
Okay.
yes, we agree with you.
So, try to schedule something for all of us to sit in and look at.
Well, I think first we got to say, yeah, we want to be proactive. If we're proactive, then we need proactive. If we're proactive, then we need databases. If we want to wait till people call us, that's it. Okay, in which case we don't need to do it.
And we can just networking, getting the updates on in the business, updates on in the business part. Some of the
Yeah, we would have that, but you know, in order to come and move into Franklin, don't they have to register and
some extent, they have to get occupancy.
right? And with
So-
occupancy, somebody's got record of that in the city of Franklin.
So we should be getting a record of that. Whether it's the client manager that you're talking to or attorney representing them. That's an attorney representing them. That's a different thing, I guess. I'm just thinking of part of the networking. And we attend those meetings every month. If there's somebody new, they always talk about somebody new being,
Oh, you mean those? Yeah, those. I thought. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the Franklin.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we can always make a call on them or say, hey, you have this person's phone number. We can set up a complete that.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised. Well,
and visit with them. Complete that.
yeah, well, I'm surprised. Well,
and visit with them.
they don't even know who's in their own park. They have 167 number, something like that.
That's
But they came to us, and we went to Hoover's, and we're still.
Right.
And then they have no idea what's in any other park. In fact, they didn't even know about another park that you guys brought up. In fact, they didn't even know about another park that you guys brought up.
Well,
Like, so I mean, I understand that that's not what they do. That's not their job.
right.
But I guess
And-
that, yeah.
That's part of their retention and expansion. You have to start with the base.
Yeah.
And sometimes you bounce line. You know what?
Yep.
Who's there because you know, the one sometimes you bounce line. You know what?
Yep.
Who's there because you know, the one area that it helps a lot with is those office buildings.
Sure.
And manufacturing condos. You have multiple tenants. And they move in. And I will try to make better connection. Who's getting
Yeah.
and how we list that. And I think that's another thing Callie was looking to get that in. Yep. Yeah. So web content again. That's ongoing.
Who does that for you?
And this Business View magazine link that we have, those were done by these companies that came in, did the production, and just wanted marketing contacts, essentially. They'll sell ad space to local companies. Beyond that, the IT department and with administration, webmaster, and we work with them to do a lot of the content, but then ads and do some marketing. So actually, so we'll utilize and see how we can use that in some ways to improve our site.
How much of your time? I mean, if you're gonna do this is a lot of time.
The web content, not a lot to this point. Content, not a lot to this point. I've worked with, getting corporate business park. It's not a marketing map. It's just basically a project. It's just basically a project status development. The existing businesses are planned for and where they're being constructed. Thereby the vacant area that available or that don't have a plan for them yet. And then it shows the infrastructure that's available there and shows the wetlands on that. Got a couple of that. But they're not marketing pieces, they're very packaged up. So and that was a lot of that was developed for the proposal we sent to county asking inject some of their land.
John, there's only so many days.
I haven't had to update. In fact, I wouldn't have access to update. There, Callie's name, my name's been put in. Okay. Which was a little more complicated than I would have had it, but anyways, that's like you say, it's a lot of work. So
You're looking over there, Bill. We kept saying, "Wait, I'm looking at both of you." Where?
Yeah, right. No, that's why.
Okay.
That's why I'm talking. So the consultant, and it might be next year before we get that put in the budget. I have to request it developed. Then we would turn that over to the administrative department, IT, handle their parts of into the site. I mean, like I say, I can see some ways to smooth out how people navigate economic development on the web. The administrative department. Yeah, you wouldn't want me.
No, I wasn't saying that. It's just that, okay. Well, it only takes a little bit here, and before you know it, John, you're getting a shot.
Yep.
And again, I'm looking. So what is the? I'm looking. So what is the mission of the Economic Development Committee? I said so. If I were putting numbers on, I'd say, well, we should probably be able to generate X amount of new dollars of tax revenue in 2023, and in 2024 we're going to generate X amount, and 25, etc. And how do we 23? And in 2024 we're going to generate X amount, and 25, etc. And how do we do that? Well, we get X number of companies in. I don't know. Do we have a number of companies that we're looking to bring into Franklin in 2023? Yes, we do.
Yes, there are companies.
No, but do we have a goal in mind which says?
Yes, there are companies.
No, but do we have a goal in mind which says we're going to bring in X amount with X amount of revenue?
We do.
That's how I would be building the plan. With saying, okay, that said, now we know we can offset this, and these are the projects we can count on doing from the standpoint of the city. And then I know what we can count on doing from the standpoint of the city. And then I know at the end of the year, did we do good? And I would start building my plan, which says, okay, based upon that, here are the things we need to do. We need to go home, talk to X number of people. I don't know. Does that make sense to you guys or not? To have some sort of goals like that.
I'd like us to talk about it internally, but glitch is it requires a planning department It requires, a lot more than just us saying this is, did we accomplish it? All those other pieces have to fit in.
Agreed.
The finance department, the
Absolutely.
financing, the lawyers, the evaluation.
100%.
So, I mean, we can come up with ideas like that and maybe direct things, but as far as bringing it off, it requires a lot more than just us.
Oh,
doing it.
we clearly can't do it on our own. But start a plan would make some sense. And to me, the numbers which would say, okay, why do we even want to bring in anybody? I mean, I could go back to the people who say keep it all farmland. Well, here's why. We can generate X amount of revenue, which will provide us with these additional services, keep our taxes down. That to me, 23, 24, 25, well, we won't run out of land. In which case we're out of that game unless we say, okay, we're going to invest, buy land, turn it over, and do different things. But that would be part of the mission, and that's not just us, but I mean, it is a more global. What are we trying to do for our community? And going back to when we're in a good quality place to live. So there's the balance as to how much we want to, and again, that's kind of an overarching, but it seems to me that we should be strategically developing the lands we do have with a goal in mind. And that would be, do we need all that revenue now, or do we need it, spread out? I don't know that you could get and fill up all the land tomorrow, so that's not real either. So that, to me, just would simply say how much we got. Based upon that, these are the services we can provide. And to your point, Mike, it's clearly more than it's all these other people too have to kind of buy into the program and then go from there. It says, hey, we're interested in your land. Okay.
It's to me, it's a valuable kind of exercise for us to think about where we want the city to go. But a developer comes in and says, I want to develop here and I need this much land. Where does it come from?
Mm-hmm.
Our plan goes.
And that's the way it is today. I agree.
Yeah, and that's the way
sent
it would be in
everybody
the future too.
Well, okay, now, and did everybody get the Green Bay plan? Did you get a chance to look at it? Okay, well, you sent it out to everybody, right? Well, basically, they've got a plan that speaks about which categories, which industries, a plan that speaks about which categories, which industries, that they were going to proactively pursue. If it wasn't one of those 5, they didn't fit. Okay? And so they also had it, kind of planned out as to what kind of incremental steps and how much on a per year basis they were looking to achieve, and the resources, the incremental steps and how much on a per year basis they were looking to achieve, and the resources that they were going to commit to bring those kind of people in. Now, that to me made a lot of sense.
I can see it from a guideline or a plan, overview kind of thing, guidance for us to look at. But, overview kind of thing, guidance for us to look at. But I don't know if practically it can be implemented other than who comes to town.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't see it.
I think it's for 2022, something like that.
Okay, so it's something for them.
For 2022, something like that.
Okay, so it's something for them.
It was developed, and it actually took them a little bit of time to put together. But it was, everybody said, yeah, these are the kinds of businesses that we should be taking and bringing in. And it was, and I'll pull it up on my phone here in a second. But they also talked about things that they should take. It was the Packers. Well, I just think we should be doing the Rock. I mean, that's something that fits with what we got. And how do we make it better?
And then that kind of a plan would have to go before the planning commission, have to go before the council before it would.
Absolutely.
I mean, those are all steps.
And to me, I think great. If others buy in, then they have, if you will, kind of a guideline which everybody. In which case, I come back to maybe we don't have as much angst amongst the groups, because there was, and I don't know that there's that much angst, but I mean from the constituency outside, and I would like people not to throw stones at the Rock and say, oh, this is seen, and who gets approved and who doesn't get approved, it's all behind the curtains. It's right here, guys. It's consistent with what the plan is. We're taking advantage of the things we've got.
I think it, something like that kind of a strategic plan is for the for like Green Bay, it's for their economic development. It basically plays off of been established to improve the city, what they're looking forward to doing. not necessarily trying to change it, maybe to provide some guidance and input, necessarily redirect.
Oh, no, it was directly, definitely, this is communities to say, hey, this is how we want our city to look, and the other kind of companies that we're interested in bringing into the Green Bay area, as opposed to, hey, I want to put in, this kind of thing, what doesn't fit. Now, that doesn't mean it couldn't still happen. They probably just have to, request, and they make an exception. But that was, a planned community with reason behind what they were trying to do. One of them was they wanted to bring in, communication type companies. They were also looking to bring in companies who were already here in Wisconsin, and that could perhaps either put a branch there or perhaps reload the vision, which, I don't know, seemed to make a lot of sense. And I go a step further. So we have the benefit of Illinois. I'd get the hell out of Illinois if I were there. I mean, really, it was just, so now I can see, some attractiveness, and I can, anyhow, that to me would, and it does have a reason why we're doing what we're doing, consistent with bringing in, revenue, okay, which would help offset, in which case, I think a lot of the chirp goes away. Why are we doing this? Because here's what it's doing for you, community.
My understanding of the BO was to define that a lot of ways. And we created a Cadillac rather than something that could be worked on, by the average Joe. And so we're changing all that around, be consolidating and pulling things together to make it more practical. The next step, what you're suggesting then, would be us to review the UDO and see if we want to make this land this, or do we want to change the ordinances to, that's what would have to happen. Once the UDO want to change the ordinances to, that's what would have to happen. Once the UDO gets consolidated, and this is what we think should happen in these areas, is that what we want? And then what kind of usages, we'd have to go in and change ordinances to do that.
Yeah,
and develop a citywide usages. We'd have to go in and change ordinances to do that. And develop a citywide plan that is very comprehensive. Given what you're saying, we'd like to have these kind of businesses. Well, where do you put those kind of businesses?
Absolutely.
And that would have to change that'd have to go through all the steps of changing the ordinances and UDO and the plan commission and everything to do all that.
As opposed to people coming in and put a little piece here, a little bit piece here. And guess what? We missed the big things that we wanted. And so, okay,
I've seen that.
Now we're locked out of perhaps bringing in a major corporation and some sort of headquarters here, because we niggled it out. We only have so much land. At some point in time, we will exhaust that. Did we do it in the right way so that we got who we want? And are they sustainable? I'd love to see the company come stay here and they stay for 40 years.
And maximize the tax base.
Absolutely. That's the concept, but, if we, may not be a good move to give it all to some, players or two. But that's part of the analysis that I think goes into the planning, if you will.
Big picture.
Yeah, it is a big picture kind of thing. And I think from my perspective, that's what this commission could do. No, I think we probably have to, John's over here doing, web content, etc. He doesn't have time to do this. It just isn't in the purview. So you've got to get some of those things off the plate. But we need more manpower. Vision. I know the mayor's over there cutting deals. But that to me is where the commission is, boom, 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 somebody gets a call here. I could be wrong, by the way. That's my perception from where I'm sitting as to how we put who into Franklin. I don't think we actively pursued Saputo kind of stuff, as well as the others. On the other hand, I'd like to think, wow, Saputo works, fits our criteria. Let's go call 6 more Saputos and bring them in. Because I think they put this kind of investment, they're likely to be here a long time. Now we got a revenue stream that we know we can count on, in which case we can buy 6 new squaddies or whatever the needs are of the community. Whereas right now, we got what we got. I don't know how to plan the future. If I were sitting in Mayor Olson's office, And I'd like to know that I have a revenue stream that we can count on, or I could borrow even again. But that's kind of why and what, and again, we're gonna run out of, now part of our next mission is to buy some back and repurpose it. I don't even know if we can do that, but it seems like we could.
No, I don't have an.
Absolutely.
So, where I problem, my first thought was, go. Have it.
Right.
Much less wrapping around all of the, how, utilize. in the
Yes,
future.
I agree. And who does?
So-
It's locked up in
The
Steve
farmer
Olson.
the farmer that owns the land right now.
Right. But I'm simply saying, if now I don't get people chirping because, over here with the rock. Well, here's the plan. This is why it's a good thing. People chirping because, over here with the rock. Well, here's the plan. This is why it's a good thing for all of us. I think that would be really cool for the city of Franklin to have that, kind of an understanding of who's doing what, as opposed to the feeling like people are cutting deals. You know the right guy, maybe you get the deal done.
Because typically what happens,
Deals. You know the right guy, maybe you get the deal done.
is someone buys land.
Yeah, boom, done. Yeah.
And then
Mm-hmm.
the developer says, okay, I'd like to buy this land for this reason.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't fit the picture, what do we do then?
Yeah, but I'm saying in the future,
Yeah.
guess what?
Farmer can't sell his land.
Well, you can sell it, but you can't use it for that purpose.
Well,
Or the
that's not going to fly. Anybody that has land will want to sell it.
Good.
And the city shouldn't be putting that restriction on them
Why not?
because it's their land.
Where do you live today? Okay. Can you put an apartment complex on it?
No.
Can you put a manufacturing facility on it? Well, who's to tell you? It's your land. Same criteria.
I want to sell it as a house, which it is right now.
Yeah, you want to sell it that way. But now let's suppose,
A farmer owns land.
Yeah.
Someone comes to town and says, it's in his head,
Yeah.
but he's still working about the land. If it doesn't fit that category, the farmer can't sell his land.
he can sell it, but just as you can't build
Well, there
on
won't
it.
be anybody to buy it unless he gets what he wants to build on that
Okay.
land, which is his right because it's his money, and it's the farmer's right because it's his land.
Mhm. Just as
That's
you're,
the conflict.
just you should be able to build anything you want on it.
No,
Why not?
because it's zoned that way.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. So in that case, and all I'm saying is a overarching, does the city, how does it best serve us long term? And that's the whole concept, which is how, and again, the revenue stream and what kind of people concept, which is how, and again, the revenue stream and what kind of people do we want here.
Once a UDO is completed, is that going to give us a pathway?
There's
Fine.
going to be a pathway as the types of land, types of uses this land can have, but it's pretty much based upon what happened in the past. All they're doing is consolidating land can have, but it's pretty much based upon what happened in the past. All they're doing is consolidating and grouping. They're not really changing anything, my understanding. That it's more of a getting some clarity on what those uses are, rather than 100 different uses. It's a generic kind of use for those uses are, rather than 100 different uses. It's a generic kind of use for agricultural land, business, industrial. It's kind of those kind of bigger groupings.
So would it make sense to kind of wait till that's completed
Yeah.
and take a look at that and
I
then move
think-
on?
I think some input at that.
Yeah.
And take a look at that and
I
then move
think-
on?
I think some input at that
Mhm.
can be brought to bear. The comprehensive land use plan shows what kind of uses would be coming up and by the city.
If we wait till the UDF is done, it might be done this summer. Might be done next year.
UDO.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
Well,
UDF.
I'm pretty sure the UDO will be done this year.
I think so.
Yeah, because they've been working on it for a while. I mean, I've seen bits and pieces of it and what they are consolidating, what they have been changing. And this plot was this 30, and this next door was this 25. So they're taking to make it into something that's uniform, uniform development, kind of thing.
Okay, but you also said there was opposition, so it could get delayed a period of time, yes?
It could at some point. I mean, it's going to be the normal objections to any kind of process.
All I'm simply
I
saying.
mean, you've seen it with Strauss. I mean, we've all lived through Strauss.
Yes.
We know exactly what happens there, where they try to do something and it never flew.
Right. And again, all I'm simply saying, I have no plan, any road will get you there. And so if we want to wait for that, fine, just kind of push things back. And, you know, so, and then you can find other reasons not to, but at some point in time, then all we're going to do is the guy who calls in is going to get the right, put whatever they want, where they want. And we're not going to have what I consider aiding in the businesses that we want, that are going to provide the revenue stream that we're looking for on an ongoing basis. I don't know. I think we've got some unlucky with the Saputo. I think it fits kind of the criteria that we should be looking for. But then, you know, that's for my criteria. I don't know that I speak for the city of Franklin people. And that's why I think. Yes.
Correct. How do we input?
Yeah.
That's what I'm.
Well, okay, so in essence, what they did in Green Bay, they set up committees that, you know, brought in both, okay, here's, and it took them, I'll bet it took them a year and a half to build it together, and so they had to get a certain, and then they had to get approval from, you know, the city council, But at the end of the day, they had something. They said, okay, this fits with the plan, and that's why they're coming in, and it did away with a lot of the discussion, and so now, you know, I was just kind of looking for John, I know I sent it to you. The Green Bay plan.
So where are we on the agenda right now? I'm a
I
bit
think
lost.
we need to go to 5 or to.
Yeah, I think we covered it.
4C.
Okay,
I think we kind of, well,
okay.
we've been talking about what would the 20.
Yeah, I think we
plan
have
would
too.
be.
I can't, but all right, let's come
Okay.
to some resolution on it. The net is we're going to postpone it. We'll discuss it next time. Maybe we'll all have a chance to take a look at the Green Bay and see if that makes sense. And I'm not saying that theirs is ideal or perfect, but it is a plan. And see if that makes sense. And I'm not saying that theirs is ideal or perfect, but it is a plan. And Waukesha has one as well, et cetera. It seems that the city of Franklin ought to have one as to what we're planning to do and why. So I'm fine tabling it, but what I'd say is I'll send out a copy to everybody once again. I'm fine tabling it, but what I'd say is I'll send out a copy to everybody once again. Okay?
I guess I wouldn't say, I mean, I'd like to see us understand the UDO as part of that process.
Sure.
That would be the next step as far as what we would be doing. Understanding what the UDO is, that would be the next step as far as what we would be doing. Understanding what the UDO is laying out for particular plots of land, and then we can develop it to see if that makes sense, or we'd like to make some other changes with that.
And
To
also-
hold groups of land or pieces of land as being something we want to bring in and applying it to that. That's where I think we'd have to kind of look at once that gets put in place.
And also, any plan will at some point go before the Common Council,
Sure.
and we're having quite a bit of turnover in the Common Council.
Oh, yeah,
April.
and the city.
Yes, and the city,
I
you're
don't know
right.
if everybody's aware of that.
I agree that we're probably at a time maybe ahead of
Doing
ourselves.
something right now would not be a
Well, and again, I don't think we get a lot resolved. Only fact is, what I would say, you know, and it also comes back to we even meet next month. Does it make sense before all that's resolved? But if we did, the real question is, should we even pursue a plan? Time where we can get, you know,
Yeah,
we could.
I'll make copies for that next time. And
Is this yours, John?
so I think that you have something like that already
Oh,
in your
then-
stack.
Then
It's
you gave it,
yours.
this is mine, okay.
Yeah, that's yours. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, just looking at what's in the corporate business relates, will give you some background. But you know, it kind of starts with kind of what kind of businesses do we want, and where will they fit? So, what kind of zoning should we have, and what kind of support programs like a TIP district? It'll give you a chance to, and that's strictly Well, no, it's not strictly industrial. All relates to it, but some of it can be off. So we can take a look at some of that.
If there's a demand for office.
Right. Well,
Ideally, but unless,
right. Well,
there's a demand and people want to come here to do that.
in that area,
We're barking up a tree.
in that area, and it's really only a southeast corner. The intent was to have headquarters, corporate headquarters. And the intent was to have headquarters, corporate headquarters. And the thought was that they would be industrial corporate headquarters. They would have offices there, and then there would be some operating back. So it gets debated, well, have the uses, a little bit of office space. Well, have the uses, a little bit of office space. Well, that's not the idea. That's not headquarters.
No.
So,
And it's
but
not multiple, same, building. But
well,
could
and
be.
there could be multiple uses, but it just has to be. Again, it went back to type. It just has to be. Again, it went back to type of business, the nature of it. And so you go a little further north, Kudos, and they are functioning as the U.S. headquarters. They're building 40,000 as the U.S. headquarters. They're building 40,000 square feet of offices. Now there's another 300,000 square feet on the back end of that, but it brings the whole package, and that you won't even be able to see that from the state. You'll be able to see the southeast corner, and that you won't even be able to see that from the state. You'll be able to see the southeast corner. So type and the appearance of the project is a little different. Now it's highly tailored. It's intended to have that flexibility to tailor those projects. But get off of 27, now it's a different type of industrial manufacturing. Could locate there and necessarily have all that. Locate there and necessarily have all that. But again, it's not on the frontage. So again, it's just an example. Kind of gives you the interaction of how all this works.
I would think too. There's Steve saying best. There's Steve saying best having. I personally, word view, 7 for marketing. Why not? But plan. Here's what we're looking for.
Give them some input.
Now they've got specific direction. So the bigger thing I'm more interested in, not that I'm not interested, what I'm more interested in, we were talking regarding all the things they did. What can you get a timeline? This, or whatever you want to call it. What are all the things they did?
Yeah.
Get that to me is more important.
Well, a couple things. We'll give you a couple little nuggets out of this thing. They said, like, okay, here's initiative number 1, build on the region's manufacturing strengths. Yeah, well, that would be one thing. So let's build on that. Second, they said, respond to the needs of existing employers and industries. Kind of talked about that too. That now becomes an initiative. Recruit new businesses and investments. 4, expand the size and scope of the region's higher ed assets. Okay. Attract, retain, and develop talent would be number 5 initiative. Okay, so what are we doing? Okay. 6, accelerate downtown and urban development. Well, okay, maybe that, or whatever. Okay, so now we plug that in there. 7, build a robust ecosystem for innovation and entrepreneurship. Nice. Encourage greater alignment with the Packers. Okay, we can talk about that. Elevate the role of events and conferences. Okay, that's our tourism type thing. Ensure diversity, inclusiveness, and connectivity. Well, we just did a meeting here with the Franklin business park. Well, if you want to grow it, you got to have labor and all those kinds of things. So I don't think there's anything in here that's all that, and then they break it out into the pieces that went with it.
And any, other than mentioning the Packers, I don't hear anything in there that couldn't just be applied to almost any.
But now you put it out there, and here's the game plan, what we're going to do against it. I agree.
I mean, it's pretty,
It is.
Vanilla.
It is
Let's
pretty
put it that
vanilla.
way.
But now it's what do you put behind that and how do we get there? But if long as we're all in agreement, then we're working towards a similar project. And does it fit? Now then they would break down the manufacturing, who fits, whatever, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But in essence, get there. But I'd also say, guys, our timing is probably too soon. We've got, elections coming up, all those kinds of things. Yeah. We wait for the UDO. I don't think it has to be based on that. I think the UDO can be based upon it again. But I'd like us to put together a plan at some point in time.
that's in process.
Yeah.
We don't have we need a finance director, we need a planning manager, we need a city administrator.
Yeah.
John is the most senior member.
Well, okay, so and
What do you say?
You and Glenn.
So that, but that
You and
comes
Glenn
back,
are the same.
Exactly.
but that comes back to, are we really in a position to do anything here, guys?
Not right now.
Well, I think,
And you say not right now.
We need some people in place
Okay, so,
first.
and I agree with you, which says, okay, so we can say we would like to do that, and I guess I can, kind of pull up and I find out what they actually hired an outside group, by the way, to write this plan, okay? Who it was there to go talk to this group and this group and this group and get, and then they published it.
That's what I want to
Yes.
hear.
Okay, so that's, I think, how they got it done, more so than the fact is,
You hire professionals.
part of the reason I was asking John all these questions, like, he doesn't have time to do that.
Oh,
And nobody in this rest of this room has either. So we need to, it's gonna get done. Well, we gotta get the city saying, yeah, it's something we want it done. But now if they spend money on it, then we probably have somebody saying, yeah, we're agreeing to this thing. I don't know, overarching plan, which we could all agree to. So let me go to the next step. I recommend we postpone this till after the elections.
And hiring.
Yeah, and all that kind of stuff. I don't think we are in the manpower, nor do we have the, to me, we'd have to go ask money to go have somebody do this, et cetera, and I don't think anybody's gonna do that yet. I don't wanna poo-poo and be negative here, but I don't think that that's,
well,
It would be
the budget.
you'd be affecting.
well, I'd be back in 23 too if we got
I was
started.
gonna say, what do we have for 23 and what are we spending?
Yeah,
Well, that's what we're gonna find out from John.
okay.
We'll go over it.
There's
Oh,
no
okay,
addition,
does that.
I don't see additional
We
money
can
coming
still
in.
learn about what's going on. We should understand what's happening with the comprehensive land use. Because that will give you more of an idea of what the city intends on seeing for development in various areas of the city.
I'd love to see it, sure.
And
I'd love to see it, sure. So can we get that next month?
yeah, I mean, it's this stuff's all on the. Probably better just send a link.
It would be nice if somebody told us it, just link. I mean, here's what we're doing, here's why, in the background. Here's what we're doing, here's why, in the background.
That's what you're describing in the Green Bay plan.
Well, it just, like I say, it gives us some background, learn before we start implementing that process for the facility.
Mhm.
For the facility.
Okay. So that said, we postponed, or we've, 4A, 4B, 4C. Okay, so we got the TIF policy, et cetera. Now just overall in reaching this, guys, I would love to see a spreadsheet which says Franklin has this, these 12 items in our TIF. Compare that to Muskego, to Oak Creek, et cetera, and I'm just little X's. What do they have? What don't we have? And say, okay, what should we? I don't want to make it any more complicated. Let the lawyers verbiage that goes with that. I think that's more in keeping with what we're, supposed to do. I don't think anybody in here wants to rewrite it. I don't know that any of us have the time to rewrite the TIF plan and add this and that, but I would be willing to look at what boxes we do or don't have covered and why we don't have them covered. Well, if he doesn't have time, then it's not gonna get done. I mean, unless you guys see somebody else that came in here and I didn't see him,
No,
say, I got extra time. Yeah. So, I mean, my point is you can send them to it in a grid somewhere or somebody. Now, okay, so we're over there in the Franklin Consortium and they're getting kids from, Franklin High School doing that. Maybe there's a kid who was studying political science, wants to be a lawyer and could do that for us. I don't know. But I'm just coming back to the fact is there's not the manpower to do and put that, it has to be all that hard. It's just,
I'm wondering why we need to compare ourselves to other neighboring communities,
Benchmark.
just for a benchmark.
And these are, I've sent you copies of what I could find,
Right. This
except Kenosha, and I find nothing on their website. So it's calling up somebody that doesn't know me from Adam because I'm a competitor.
Yeah.
Asking them for their policy. Pleasant Prairie doesn't have one, as far as I can tell. Oak Creek has an application. Muskego, I think, is the one that actually has policy. But different than the ones that were sent to us as examples from the administration. Maybe just some of those.
I guess I saw it as what would be valuable. Let us not have somebody who's offering more of a TIF program than us, unless we're okay with that. And I said, which one's closest to us would probably be that. I could also make a case saying don't do anything because we don't even know what the vision is for the go forward. Okay, so I can push all this down the road, but what do you guys think?
I think the TID could be like this draft that we have. That's something that would be a document that we could create as a starting point. I mean, first of all, you're going to list, okay, what is a TID? What is the purpose of the TID? Why does Franklin want to get involved in TIDs? What's the benefit? What are the qualifications for a TID? Does Franklin want to get involved in TIDs? What's the benefit? What are the qualifications for a TID? I mean, it's something we could put together and have available for developers when they come. This is, if you're going to seek financing, this is a guidepost for you. And then you could go in and I don't know, like you said, guidepost for you. And then you could go in and I don't know, like you said, go in and create. Well, one of the things that we've just gone through at the council level is we've done kind of a review with Peggy here, reviewing the past TIDs. Peggy here, reviewing the past TIDs and the language, and that's really a financial, legal, and function to come up with that kind of an app. What is the actual language that's going to protect the city? That's a big thing that we've kind of worked through right now and changing it. And once you put a document out, like it kind of spells out the financing of it. That's the biggest component of the whole thing for that functionality, other than getting the fact that it's a land that'll never be a financial projection coming from the developer. Is it feasible? Does it look like it's practical? I mean, those are all kinds of steps along the way, but the idea that it takes a lot of work from some other departments in terms of legal, and once we put an application together, that might be a thing for what we're going to allow in the future and how it's going to be worded.
But okay, just like you said, finance has got to get involved, legal's got to get involved, right?
And that's what Peggy's work with the finance committee.
Okay. So, from their standpoint,
I think,
okay.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, if we
without
could-
her, I don't understand.
they're saying we can't cut deals on the finance without controlling the finance. Because everything in here is a financial ramification in some sort of fashion.
An outline as to what the content is and what kind of things can we work on to get then. Where should we count on other people for some assistance to in doing it? If we're going to try to create a document, what's in the document and how do we get there? That might be a timeline that we could create right away.
So I'm looking for an Excel spreadsheet okay, which says, here's what we propose, here's what other communities are doing. And then we pass that over to finance and say, guess what? Tell us how this costs out. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Well, no, just what would go into a document?
From the other guys, plug and play and say, this is what we think would be the best.
I mean, we're gonna wanna describe what a TID is. We're gonna wanna lay out why Franklin would have these things. We're gonna lay out what the purposes of it, what the qualifications of it are. And those are just paragraphs as an outline form, and then if we wanna actually do the application, then we've gotta get other people involved with it.
Okay, but I guess I'm trying to simplify for this group here, which says, here are the boxes, somebody else needs to go write those paragraphs. I don't see anybody in there writing the paragraph. Unless you're volunteering.
What about this draft we have in front of us?
Okay, so do you, I mean, are you approving it and you say that this is
I'm
a
not-
good?
That's the place to start it.
Okay, and I'm just
to
saying,
start,
yeah, but again,
Who does it?
who does it? Yeah. And that's, I think it's all great. I'm just saying who's doing it. Does it? Yeah. And that's, I think it's all great. I'm just saying who's doing it. And I'm just not I'm not volunteering you, okay? So you understand, okay? So I'm simply saying, so if finance has it, but I think we could do the outline of the boxes that we think maybe should be in there, and then, but I think we could do the outline of the boxes that we think maybe should be in there, and then let a drafter draft it. That's all. I'm trying to minimize what we do, but yet still have input. Does that seem reasonable? Or at least more manageable? Does that seem reasonable? Or at least more manageable?
I put that on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay.
So that's the next step. What do we want to see in our document?
Okay. Okay. So we're looking to have I'll call it a grid of what items should be in there.
I don't know if I'd call it a grid. What's an outline? I go old school outlines.
Okay, but I guess what I'm saying is to justify where else is it and who else has done, somebody else has it, or we think it's useful, we should probably do that. But I'm just simply saying the easiest is to edit and borrow somebody else's as opposed to recreate. And there's a lot of smarter people.
I mean, the League of Municipalities has a great piece on what a TID was. They just had it in their last magazines that I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of verbiage there that was beneficial to me in reading it. But,
Wow. Okay. I haven't seen it. That'd be kind of cool.
so
And
John, I
then-
just have a question. Where did this draft come from, or who created this?
That was in files. Callie worked on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I just was wondering how old it was, so.
Now, I have that in Word. This is PDF, the latest PDF that's in my file. It has some edits in that, and I can
Right.
incorporate that in the Word document.
Okay.
I just wanted to,
well, I think that's a
Start
good.
off
I think
where
it's
we
a great.
ended
I think it's a good starting point for our next meeting and pull out what we want and where we want to go with it. I think it's a like guidepost kind of thing.
All right, so yeah, I'm looking on page 5, all right? And there's a couple of numbers in there. City retains tax increment of administrative creation and repayment costs. Then the next bullet point under that, minimum applicant equity is greater than or equal to 15% of total project cost. Next, not to exceed 20%. I unfortunately have no clue if those are reasonable and if those are deal breakers.
those would be things I'd bounce off the finance committee, but I think we should gain 20-25% of the revenues.
No, it protects the city in a lot of ways.
I'm not disputing that.
No.
I'm just simply saying my qualifications to vote on what the percentages are, and I'm simply saying I think, I'm not speaking for everybody in this room, but I think this is kind of out of what we do.
Well, that would kind of be the financial area. Ellers, give you what their thoughts are and what's standard or what would be typical for a TID. What would be, Ellers would do the whole feasibility thing. financial analysis based upon the input from the developer, what they're talking about doing, will that give the return back to the city? And they're the kind of numbers that would make sure that, and what kind of clauses are in the document that guarantee, the clauses are in the document that guarantee the fact that it's going to get paid for.
Yeah.
So that's all input that we'd want to get.
I agree. But all I'm simply saying is, okay, Ed, if you're saying, all I'm simply saying is, okay, Ed, if you're saying, what do we want in or out? I don't know that I would have, if I had to write this tomorrow, I don't know that I would have put that in there because I'm not qualified. That's all I'm saying. And I'm saying, as we as a group, are we qualified to determine what should be or shouldn't be in this?
As an alderman, I want to protect.
Should be or shouldn't be in this?
As an alderman, I want to protect the taxpayers, so I would make sure something like that was.
Okay. All right. But
But
as
I think what Steve's saying all is the mayor's getting corrected.
yeah.
Actually,
Well, qualified. Yeah, I said, I'm not questioning. I'm telling you, I don't think I am. Okay, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I can't tell you what the right percentages are.
bringing up. Right.
Then we got the next page, refundable application fee of 10,000 for 1%. Unless I'm looking at the guy from 10,000 for 1%. Unless I'm looking at the guy from Mosquito or something, and they have the same one. I go, well, okay, we could probably do that. But I don't know how much business they've lost because of that.
My personal.
I'll second it.
That's where.
Absolutely. That's exactly where I'm at. I don't think it's, but, so, yes. Do I have, do I have a motion
Motion. But,
to take it off our list?
well, let you try to go here and give us a directive.
Call him? Sure, I'll call him. Not a problem. Okay. Done. All right. Industrial sites development. Also mayor's directive.
So, what we were looking at is across, Loomis Road. Some of that area has some projects that have been identified for it that haven't come to fruition, seem to be making
That's
progress.
the map in the packet.
Yeah,
So this is the gas station on Four Angels. The Four Angels?
so,
You used to hang out over there, didn't you? Close to your place. Did you ever eat that?
No,
My dad always wanted to go there. I said, Dad, are you sure? And we never did, but it was like, anyhow, sorry. Go ahead, John, please.
yeah, that area is across, so the other corners are also indicated in this plan for development. In the regulating plan itself, though, the nuts and bolts, really, the nitty gritty. I think I've sent you the whole study, but I'll send it to you again. It talks about, really the first paragraph is talking about mixed uses to create a village center. And two-story buildings are encouraged, not required. This commercial and office, residential. First floor, I think the idea is to have the first floor being retail and then residential offices above that. And so that's kind of the thought that seems to be, and then there's some other specific requirements that pertain to how, the facilities and the buildings are to operate, so that there's no negative impacts on neighboring uses. But, that's kind of the nitty I want to see retail on the first floor, you want to see multiple stories, upper stories, can be office and residential. And so there is a proposal out there right now that's being looked at. It's an application in. We should be able to discuss it in this committee, but that hasn't happened yet. So I guess thought is what I just described to you as being focus for that area. Multiple story buildings, retail at least on the first floor. Retail at least on the first floor. Commercial. If there are second floors, residential can be.
And who is posing and asking for?
Asking for.
Yeah, I mean.
Asking. For,
yeah, I mean, you said there's a proposal for it. Who's
right? I can't really because it hasn't an application.
But somebody is looking at this as a possibility for some development.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
It's not the
have some
first
ideas.
one that's been,
No,
and
it's not the
have some
first
ideas.
one that's been,
no.
no. There've been multiples over time that
But,
have come
but an
forward.
official application is not.
And this was all created in 2004. Plan for that. It's a time.
Yeah.
Let's be developed. It's a time.
Yeah.
Let's be developed.
But we need to keep an eye on it because a lot more extensive planning has been done in the eastern corner, and the question is that's not moving ahead. What's the thing? Where we go from?
So the purpose of telling us about this, since you can't tell us who it is, what's the purpose of telling us?
Some input on the guidance we're providing.
Okay. And just so I understand, and the reason you can't tell us is what?
Because an application is
Okay. Who is in that scope that can be told of? Councilman? The
No.
mayor? Who can know about it?
The mayor at this point,
and staff that they'll meet with to confer with on technicality.
a lot of times the developers want to keep their name confidential. They don't want that information out there. And that's what you run up against more often than not.
Okay.
That is strictly where it's a negotiation. Nothing has been decided, and they want it to be confidential. If somebody else comes in and wants to do the same thing up the road, it's all that part of it.
Okay.
Or another municipality could show up and say,
Yep.
and take it away.
Oak
That
Creek,
happened too.
Oak Creek wouldn't do
Maybe.
that.
No.
But
Understand. I
simplified answer is what kind of development do y'all want to see there?
And this is an outline for it.
Mhm.
That's what was planned.
The plans told us they want to see commercial, retail, village type of retail center. With anything specific, I think that we would like to see there.
wasn't this one time the location that Myers was looking at?
Yes,
Across the
this
street.
corner
over.
right here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
they were.
And they ended up choosing not to, or did the city decide they didn't want to?
And the residents.
Yeah, their approach was, and I talked to someone from Meyer, that they were waiting for the DNR, and the DNR was not coming through with the permits, and so they
Just pull it.
withdrew.
Mhm.
I think that was a very nice way for them to say.
Mhm. So they put theirs, over here in Oak Creek?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much, if that was as a result, but yes, but they're in Oak Creek.
All right, so to that point, do we know how that's turned out? Is Oak Creek happy with them and the people around that?
too. I mean, it's 27th Street, or what is it, Howell or 27th? 27th. Howell.
Oh,
And
Yeah,
they're in Howell.
which is
Drexel and Howell.
that's kind of like an area for it.
Mhm.
It's got the roads, it's got access, it's got,
Got apartment buildings,
Yeah.
hotels.
this
Yeah.
met, as I out of resist, there used to be a Walmart that was thought of in that location. Well, that meant the same kind of, they didn't want traffic, they didn't want lights on at night, they didn't want, I mean, it's the residents band together and like we've just seen recently, they don't want it. Anything we say is,
Yeah.
we'll be in the courts, whether it be from the farmer,
Yeah.
whether it be from the developer, or whether it be from residents. So that's the fine line.
So, okay, then that is what what the residents here want or don't want, we meet with objections, right? Myers
It
like,
did.
Well,
yeah,
in the village, I don't know if Myers comes close, but Myers is kind of a big box sort of an operation.
Yeah.
When we're talking about a village center, you know, big- and a neighborhood retail center is not the right term, but a district retail center, better.
would it be like a small Drexel Commons kind of thing?
If
The same thing with Orchard View, trying to create. Now, that's not to say it's going to be our village.
Mm-hmm.
It's a retail development that's supported by, mixed use, offices, probably a lot of residential surrounding it, support it. So it's like a little mini business district.
Okay, so, just so I get this right, so this orange is the south, okay? Across the street is where the Four Angels, is that right?
Right.
And then what's over here on your side of the road? Four Angels, is that right?
Right.
And then what's over here on your side of the road, Tim? Nothing, I mean, we got
That's
the,
where the used car
Used car
dealer.
dealer,
and,
yeah. yeah, yeah,
And behind there is the Indian Community School, their property,
right, I got that,
Which would probably be a player,
their property.
right, I got that.
which would probably be a player that would have a say.
You get the vote, huh? So, okay,
They definitely make it.
does the auto guy, is he also the owner of the Four Angels?
No, I think the Four Angel, that's owned by O'Malley.
Right, okay, so Four Angels?
No, I think the Four Angel, that's owned by O'Malley.
Right, okay, so O'Malley doesn't own the other one? Okay, so at some point in time, do you think the auto dealer would become part of the,
So are we looking at seeing?
That's not the best use for
We're
it.
looking at seeing.
That's not the best use for it.
You think fast casual dining, fine dining, fast food? You know what I'm getting at?
no, yeah, I mean,
You know, boutique retail, I mean, like express type retail, I mean, looking for, professional type, businesses there, like, physicians, or accountants, attorneys. I mean, right, so are we talking like professional type commercial or services type commercial? I would think dining, casual, casual type dining, and what do I say? Lounge and dining, upscale, but sports bar type. Good thing. After you think of all the communities you've seen in your travels, and the struggles that real classic downtown go through, and then you go to places, Minneapolis, and even in the outskirts of Chicago, where they're pretty darn well. And they all have an identity, but it's not a downtown type of thing where you have to be all things to all people. What do we think the identity is? And maybe it's a bigger process, but I'm just looking for if there's some specific itches that you want scratched. There's some specific itches that you want scratched in commercial community that, in that area, let me know. You don't have to say anything now off the top of your head. Some kind of a use, some kind of a thing would be good there, that's great. My favorite fast casual would be good there, that's great. My favorite fast casual is Culver. Maldati's or something like
Chick-fil-A.
that. See, but yeah, that too. Any one of those is far enough away because all those places are enough away because all those places have presences here, but they're clear on way over on the other side of town. So I mean, it's not as crowded as a Slate as you might think, but you know, it's just stuff that you might think, but you know, it's just stuff that you know, as we talk to these folks and make suggestions as to what might be there, there might be something you could think of.
We're somewhat a victim, not a victim. Not a victim, somewhat limited by what a developer thinks will be successful in an area.
And they
That's
probably,
what he is coming to town to make money on.
he's done his research and he knows.
Money on.
He's done his research and he knows.
He's probably done some research. You know, he's not going to put the same thing that's going to be in Orchard View. If that's the one that gets kicked off first, they're going to have it. He's not going to try duplicating it. He's going to try to do something different that's going to be feasible first. They're going to have it. He's not going to try duplicating it. He's going to try to do something different that's going to be feasible for him to make money on. So what he perceives as being the opportunity is what he's going to present. And that's where he comes to town and says, this is what I'd like to do. And that's where he comes to town and says, this is what I'd like to do.
Understood. That's where we are in the sit back mode. Let's go back and say, oh, we wanted to put doctor's office, go pursue doctor's office. So we can wait or we can do it.
They're going to listen to boots on the ground with some experts. Is this cool?
Right across the street from you, Tim. What do you want there?
Well, I guess I would like to see some, you know,
Fast casual.
Fast casual.
How about another bank?
Coupled with, well, yeah. Possibly, yeah, I would say like a professional area, doctor.
Well, the benefit to doctors, lawyers, they tend to go home, pay their taxes. The downside is you don't have food. I mean,
Well, I mean, you're gonna have a
it's a decent product. Yeah, go ahead.
But I would say another big was a one point ever apartments. So
Was proposed out of one of the corners at one point.
yeah,
The up front, apartment, retail, and then in back was a whole senior living complex.
There you go.
Support the.
Well, I have a question about, you know, I see those yellow blocks.
You mentioned, you had an idea that you mentioned.
Space to the left of the yellow. Is that wetlands perhaps, or?
Undeveloped.
no, I think the wetlands is dark gray.
The
light
dark gray? So that other gray is just not
Oh,
to be developed?
I'm gonna, yeah, that dark gray is.
I think this one here is that little pond behind the. Where they got
I'm
the
talking
little
about this.
no-tell motel thing.
The reason I ask is because, you know, the residential is right on top of a state highway, a county highway on, you know, 36. Seems that a bit more, or a little more privacy, and put more commercial or retail right on the highway. I'm not sure if I wanted to live someplace where I was overlooking busy highway.
The dark gray corresponds to green space on the color lines up with the green space.
Okay.
I don't know why they changed the color scheme, but.
Well, I think the
blue
green-
stuff, the blue stuff, I think is wetland.
Is wetland. It would seem that having residential or apartments in more of a green area would attractive.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mixed use concept.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'd say it's interesting. I consider the, I would recommend they continue pursuing. I would recommend they continue pursuing. Come back with something better. And, or if not, it's safe, but pursue it. It certainly beats your 4 angels.
I'm sure
That's kind of humble, guys.
timing wise, it won't get all wrapped up and done by the time we meet.
That's kind of humble, guys.
Timing wise, it won't get all wrapped up and done by the time we meet again. Talk some more about it. And I will just
Okay.
ask if, discuss it, and we can discuss it in session.
Mhm. Okay. All right.
Discuss it in session.
Okay. All right. Are we good?
Oh, that way.
Yeah, we good to move on to 5? Replacement directors.
Yeah,
The process is they have to
Apply.
apply. Okay. And we get back to them is how long?
Up to
Who
the mayor.
gets back to them? Huh?
Up to the mayor.
So it's his decision, 100%. Okay.
well, we can always nudge and urge.
Sure, we can always ask. We can ask them, say, hey, we're really hurting for, we'd like to, get this person, we could get the list from the mayor, ask who got on it, who's applied and passed.
Yeah.
And right now, I don't think there's anybody active out there. And the mayor has his criteria as to who he'd like to see on, and then could supply some criteria as to who we're looking for some help and expertise.
If we had one of us not show today, we have the meeting.
Yes.
Theoretically, we got one bogey. Okay.
I mean, it's 4, so you have to have 3 votes.
Okay. Got it. All right. And then the Loomis.
Us 4, not you. Us 5.
Okay, just a question,
I
John.
don't
Mayor right now?
No.
No names.
Well, I think there's like 1.
Just recently.
Yeah.
Wickman.
From this year.
Wickman.
Okay. That'd be 23. 22, I think there's 1. And then there's some years going back some years. I need to check up on a little.
That's just a report out.
Okay.
And then we can recruit. And that's one of the things that we should be. We could
Yeah.
definitely be recruiting somehow.
Mhm.
Knowing
I know
names-
someone who said that
knowing names.
she was applying, and I thought she had applied about 2 months ago, but not sure.
Okay, so follow-ups on that is touch base with the mayor.
Identify people that you think would be good.
Well, but they still got to go online and
Right.
apply.
Right.
So
But you lobby the mayor
Yeah.
to get him to think about it.
Okay, gotcha. And then we got our Loomis Road. Yeah.
To get him to think about it.
Okay, gotcha. And then we got our Loomis Road site research.
And we've just talked about
That's what.
Yeah.
That's
Those
what-
are the
Done.
pictures.
All right. Seems like we've blown right through this thing. We're like lickety split. We beat this one up pretty good. I don't know. I'm looking for somebody to suggest. Second.
Well, not yet. The
Oh,
next
well-
meeting, it can't be on February 23rd.
That's right, yeah.
It's Chambers dinner,
Oh, chamber dinner. Okay, gotcha.
according to my calendar.
Yeah, I didn't look at that.
First thought is
I thought, wait a minute, I've been invited to a dinner that night.
Oh, yeah.
I guess we have to have it at the dinner.
That's an idea.
there you go.
We'll organize the table.
2 birds with 1 stone.
How many people are coming from the city?
Well, if you pay $3,000, you can sponsor a table.
Oh, okay. No,
So,
okay.
So we're buying it on individual ticket. No, it's a sponsorship. So
Yeah,
that's how that works. So just getting the names and getting the tickets to people. You know, if anybody wants, congregate with some people, let me know. And we'll pull a table.
I like the idea of being ad lib.
Yeah, spread around a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, if there's a message we want to carry to the masses, that's what we want to carry to the masses. That's what we want to do. We want to deploy the resources.
Well, it depends on whether or not they'll do seat assignment. Need to check with the director about that.
I'll check. But
But if
I
you have a
asked-
table, usually
I
they put
asked
you all
her-
together.
Yeah, how much is a table?
Table, usually
I
they put
asked
you all
her-
together.
Yeah, how much is a table? $67. Whatever the price. So
Okay, so I guess we're looking for another extra day, huh? Instead of that one?
good catch, Mark.
Yeah. Second work for everybody?
What day is it?
Same
Another
Thursday.
Thursday.
We're just kicking them back.
Planning commission? No, that would be the planning commission. Thursday?
How about the Thursday before?
But that is this. That's the 23rd.
No, but the week before the,
Third.
no, but the week before the 23rd.
Oh, the 16th.
Or no, I think it was going to be a Wednesday.
I thought it was.
Yeah, I think it's a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
16th.
Yeah.
16th. I'll be out of town.
March 9th.
Oh,
I'm out of town.
I'm out of town. I'm up in Appleton. Can I get back in?
Should we just do it in 2 months, rather?
Yeah. Was that the 24th or the 23rd of March?
Talking about March 25th.
Yep. I got it booked.
What was the day?
23rd of March.
Oh, no meeting in February.
Well, would be the,
Oh, okay.
because that's what it is. That's what took the place of.
It's true.
Let me think. Actually, I think the 15th. Tourism was normally scheduled on the 15th. I think it did back to the 22nd.
Yeah.
It didn't sound like it did.
No, yeah. Well, but when you look at it, what are we going to decide anyhow next month? We're not going to be any smarter on any of these things.
It'd be wonderful if we had a few more people.
Okay, so that
We
could
might
be
have some.
Smarter on it. Don't, now you're not doing your homework.
I'm saying, you're right. I can come with those things. You're right. Well, I'm just simply saying we won't be any further down the road on a plan or even that. Yeah, thank you. You're killing me. Thanks, John. Okay, now that said, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Appreciate it.